So, brand new contract on the tight end market comes down the pike. Adam Schefter reporting that Arizona Cardinals are making their Pro Bowl tight end, Trey McBride, the highest paid tight end in NFL history, with a 4-year, $76 million extension. So the deal includes $43 million guaranteed. What if you were guaranteed $43 million today?
Start buying some real estate.
Would you still do the vault?
Maybe. Maybe. Would you?
That's a no, isn't it?
I don't know. I'd have to see what life takes me. Yeah.
I think I still might.
All right.
But we would definitely have editors and producers and all that kind of stuff.
Maybe we'd take it to new heights in Baltimore. How about that?
We would take a chunk of that $43 million.
We'd take it to new heights, and we'd have a filthy McAfee-esque Thunderdome in downtown Baltimore. How about it?
So $43 million guaranteed and $19 million average per year. Well, guess who loved this news?
Yeah.
Of course, Isaiah Likely. Yes, sir, Brody, he says with a quote retweet with a money bag emoji, a double exclamation point emoji, and then, of course, the crossed fingers emoji, because he wants to break that. He wants to break that. And so the question is, right now, we've still got Mark Andrews and Isaiah Likely on the same team.
Yep.
It's looking like, the way John Harbaugh was talking, that they're staying together. Although I don't think we can completely shut the door on that until after the draft.
Yeah.
Okay. But let's say Mark Andrews and Isaiah Likely are still on the same team together. Is he going to have the opportunity to even be in that vicinity?
Barring something astronomical this year and injuries on top of that, I don't think so.
Mm-hmm.
But it's still good news for him.
Because
the market is the market. And so this is good news for him. If he has, again, some type of just astronomical, groundbreaking season for him personally, it'll definitely mean something terribly wrong took place with either the Ravens tight end room or other injuries on the offense, right? But ultimately, this is good. It's pushing the tight end market down the road. It has there is a new ceiling to chase after. And so it's great news for not only Isaiah, but for all the up and coming tight ends in this league.
Excellent news. And he knows it. And it's 1 year away from him. 1 year away. So let's look at this entire tight end. The top 10 highest paid players. So Trey McBride, now number 1 with $19 million. Then you got Travis Kelce, very deserved, at $17.1 million. TJ Hawkinson, 16.5. George Kittle, 15. Dallas Goedert.
Yeah, Goddard.
14.2. And then number 6 is Mark Andrews at $14 million. Obviously, his cap hit is higher this year, but his average contract value was $14 million. They can keep going down to get the top 10. So Isaiah Likely playing behind Mark Andrews, where could he realistically end up if he's still playing as like a number 2 tight end or a shared number 1 tight end?
Probably not on this list.
You don't think you could get Mark Andrews? Like, you don't,
I mean,
like, not top 10? That is tough. Like, here, let's go way back up to this slide. Where did I put that? Bear with me. Okay. Nope. Where did I have? Oh, I didn't have it as a slide. I did it as a shared screen. But remember, Isaiah Likely was 1, 2, 3. He was the 4th highest player on the Ravens in terms of receiving yards at 477 last year. Like, maybe he could get that up to 600. But if he's getting 600 yards, he just can't. It's just going to be impossible to command that kind of money.
Yeah. That's one of the tough realities about where he was drafted. How do you think Charlie Kohler's feeling?
Yeah.
I bet you Kohler on any other team, not named Kansas City, not named San Francisco, not named perhaps Arizona because of McBride, all these guys that have these A1 tight ends, is being talked about as a top 15 tight end. I don't think that's hyperbolic to say. Whatever Charlie does, Whether it's as a blocking tight end, whether it's special teams, whether it's the small sample size, which was what last year, 9 receptions on 11 targets, 131 yards, 14.6 per average. He always answers the bell.
Yeah.
Imagine what he would be somewhere else.
Yeah.
So it's an embarrassment of riches at this position, and it has been for years. But all that's subject to change after next year because every single one of them, including Ricard at fullback, as we know, is entering a contract.
Right. Year. I saw a chat there that said that the Ravens can't afford Likely. Yes, they can. They can't afford both Likely and Mark Andrews on second and third contracts. But that money can be transferred from Mark Andrews to Isaiah Likely. But so it's less of a question for me about if the Ravens can afford him. I think they can. It's more of a question of he hasn't had the opportunity to justify that kind of money. So to be honest, and I don't know how he feels. I mean, I'm sure he doesn't wish anything bad on Mark Andrews, but the person that would most benefit if Mark Andrews were to be traded is Isaiah Likely.
Yeah.
In a contract year? Are you kidding me?
Oh yeah. And look, there's still a realistic chance, right, that this is Andrews' last season in Baltimore. And which
yes, for sure.
Which is the obvious elephant in the room.
Well, you're gonna re-sign one of them.
Yeah.
Obviously, you should go with the younger, up and coming.
Or somebody rolls up the Rolls Royce for you, and you take that, right? You take that compensation because of what other people see him being, which is an untapped star, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, he's an untapped small star that not a lot of people know about because of the sample size. But I guess I could potentially see the scenario of him having another year, right, where what you just mentioned, somewhere in that 500, 600, 700 yards receiving category, right, 5, 6 touchdowns to go along with it, but you're still left wanting more. You part ways with Andrews at the end of his contract, and you do kind of reward Isaiah for, okay, not the upper echelon of that list that we had on this, that we do have on the screen right now, but somewhere towards, the bottom half of it, maybe just outside the top 10. And you say, hey, we believe in you. Mm-hmm. You've shown us who you are. It's just not the typical sample size that comes with what we're paying you. I could see something along those lines happening.
Yeah. Well, I just saw Aline saying there that Sarah hates Mark Andrews. Really hates. And Aline, I love you. You're here all the time. We appreciate you, but that's a terrible read of what I'm saying or what I've been saying since the season ended. It's not at all true whatsoever. Why would I hate Mark Andrews? Why would I hate somebody? I actually think he's a phenomenal human being. I think he's a great guy, and he's obviously an all-pro tight end. All this conversation has nothing to do with his play on the field. It has to do with cap dollars. That's it. Who you can afford and who you can't afford, and the business of the NFL. So if the Ravens end up re-signing Isaiah Likely after this season and letting Mark Andrews walk, does that mean the Ravens hate Mark Andrews? Or are they just building a business? I've covered the Ravens for 20 years. I know how they generally operate. And so I'm just talking about the business side of football, which has nothing to do with my feelings of Mark Andrews. Because if it were about my feelings about Mark Andrews, he would retire a Raven. You know what I mean? How do you not love that dude? How do you not?
It's impossible.
Yeah.
It's impossible not to. The one area that she took it to an extreme there with the word hate. The one area that she could be leaning on here is you being on record for having lost faith in him in do or die situations.
Correct.
Which you have said this offseason, and
But I've definitely said if he's here, I still expect him. We just talked about at the top target. Here's his numbers at 673 last year. I think because of the assuming he doesn't get in a car accident and all that, I think he could be close to 1,000 yards again. And I think he'll be on the field a lot, and I would want him on the field a lot. I'm just saying, in that do or die moment, I'm going to go somewhere else.
That's fine.
That doesn't equate to hating him.
That's fine.
Yeah.
Femi's somewhere out there. Get me back on the show. Get me back on the show. I wasn't
even here for that. Can you recap? Because I think you had a headline on it, but I never listened to it. He was in Florida.
Yeah, he just kind of stood 10 toes down on very similar topics to what we discussed when you were on, which was sample size, which was the continued belief in him.
Yeah.
There was nothing truly new on that.
Yeah. Okay, that's cool. Okay, so speaking of Mark Andrews, and this has nothing to do with hating him, it's just literally what's going on. So going back to this anonymous GM, because we're talking about Isaiah Likely right now and what's going to happen there. One executive told Mike Sando that he thought, so this isn't me just making this stuff up. I can read the tea leaves, and so can this executive. And this executive said that he thought Andrews or tight end Isaiah Likely could be available by trade. So not like in the past tense. This is at the owners' meeting saying that they could be available. Okay. Yeah. So this is not just me. You read anybody. You read Jeff Zrebeck. You read Baltimore Sun. You read ESPN. You got Mike Sando. You got an executive. Everybody's talking about this because you have an embarrassment of riches. That's how this works. So Bill Barnwell over at ESPN was doing his mock draft. His mock draft includes trades. So here's his proposed trade when the Ravens are at number 27, but really it would happen earlier at number 22.
And look who the partner is.
What do you know? The Ravens of the West. So he's proposing a trade with the Chargers where the Ravens would move up 5 spots in the first round from number 27 to number 22. And they would do that by trading Mark Andrews for guard Zion Johnson. Okay, and he talks about why you would trade Mark Andrews with Isaiah Likely on the roster. I haven't followed Zion Johnson since the draft. He was pretty highly touted when he was coming up. But Barnwell writes, the Chargers, meanwhile, have prioritized their offensive line under both the Ortiz and Tom Telesco regimes. But Johnson hasn't lived up to expectations. The 2022 first-round pick has been average in his career, and there are real questions about whether LA will want to pick up his 5th-year option, which would guarantee him $17.6 million in 2026. He says Andrews is the more prominent player, but Johnson might be equally as desirable given his youth and the recent positional importance of guards. And then they talk about why Mark Andrews would be a fit over there, of course, in a Greg Roman offense and with Justin Herbert. Yeah. What would you think of this trade?
I'm all set. I'm all set on this one.
You want it?
No. I'm all set. Meaning,
I'm good.
Leave it on the table.
I'm good.
Leave it on the table for me. Look, they can retool a guard, and they're going to retool a guard. If last year proved nothing else, right? It was that they could get by at guard, and I think they have the depth to do so. I still want 89 on this team.
Yeah, you hands down. Not only do you not like this trade, but you've never been on the trade bandwagon
for Mark.
For Mark.
No.
Right. No.
Yeah. I just haven't bought into it as much.
Sure.
I think it's been enticing.
Sure.
This doesn't entice me as much as other scenario things that I've seen.
Yeah.
But I could see why both he and Likely are obviously viewed over the next 3 weeks as, leading up to the sticking point of the draft and whatnot as viable candidates. That makes a lot of sense to me.
Yeah. Well, obviously I've been okay with the trade. Although I haven't been promoting it, meaning get him out of here. I've only said not the do or die moments. But even though I've been more okay than you for a trade, I do not like this one. Now, listen, it's hard to know. One thing that can maybe put me over the top, it's hard to know who are you going from 27 to 22 and getting. That nameless draft choice. I don't know. Who is somebody falling? It would never happen. But if an Abdul Carter was falling, then it's okay, or I don't know. I'm blanking on some
Mike
possibilities.
Green, something like that. He might go a little bit earlier than where the Ravens are.
Sure. So if you put a name on that draft pick, then maybe that makes sense. But if we're talking about Mark Andrews and Zion, no. I feel like the Ravens are fine at guard if this is true what Bill is saying, that he's been average. Yeah. The way I read that, and I could be wrong, because again, it would be nice to have a Chargers reporter on here to really give us an idea of Zion's year. And it's hard to know offensive lineman, right? It's not like you're looking up stats on him and this and that. But the way I read it is it reminds me a little bit of Patrick Queen, that it's he's a first-round draft pick, been about average, not really living. Same with Odafe Owe, not really living up to first-round expectations, but a solid player. So, but no, I'd rather have like a ton of production at the receiving position. I'd rather have Lamar Jackson have his security blanket in Mark Andrews, even though Isaiah Likely is one also, rather than go get, if this is
A
true,
question mark.
a question mark or an average guard. Because I feel like the Ravens can get an average guard elsewhere
Totally
without giving up Mark Andrews.